Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Folks, welcome back to the show where it's not wrestling with your budget. It's not wrestling with your conscience. It is wrestling with emotion. And we have a ton on tap. We got news all over the sphere, from AEW and Wembley to WWE and what's happening behind the scenes and in the run-up to the new big gold belt. And obviously, Backlash predictions as it gets set to go down tonight in Puerto Rico. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest most likely headlining. Speaking of headlining, if you're looking to headline your weekend, make sure you go to the place to buy a case, Outlet Liquor. And speaking of headlining your weekend, let's get our headliners in here. We got Slick L, we got Rob Ryan, we got McAdoo, and we got the pantheon of picks himself, Michael Partham. Gents, how are we all doing today? How are we feeling about the wrestling biz, the industry going into this Backlash event, and obviously what should be a very huge May?
Wrestling is thriving. What more can I say?
Certainly thriving from a tickets perspective and attendance perspective. I don't know if the ratings reflect that. Maybe it's just, NBA and NHL playoffs, but we'll see once we get past June, I guess.
Totally agree with that. I mean, we're seeing in both shows ticket sales for these big shows coming up. We got SummerSlam for WWE. They're opening up more tickets. We got Wembley for AEW. They're just skyrocketing. But we got that going. But we'll have to see with the ratings. Like Partham said, it's a slow kind of month with all the playoffs going on. So we'll have to see if that correlates to what the fans like to see on screen coming up.
Yeah, it should be interesting with how the draft turned out and going forward.
Seriously, I think, Rob, you may have said it best there. I think all wrestling, the industry, and obviously AEW and WWE is the big top two at the moment, are in a great position to succeed. It'll be a matter of whether they follow through. And speaking of follow through, you thought we weren't going to have him on a predictions show? Get him the hell in here, Ernie Green. Ernie, how are we doing today, sir?
Other than my laptop deciding to take an update, like right when we were about to start, I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Listen, don't get me started on my internet and problems, because, next thing I'll be, wearing all the belts with as far as bad internet and computer is concerned. But wow, we got an early comment from Gatesy. Omos needs that World Heavyweight Championship. I mean, let's face it, Omos just needs a push. Well said, Gatesy. But let's get right into it. We always ask, our first thing, and Slick, let's start with you. Favorite thing in the world of wrestling right now?
Oh, wow. That's tough.
Or anyone, if they got one to jump out. I know people don't like when they get leapfrogged.
Yeah, someone else go. I got to think about it.
I'll start.
I'm loving the
last
whole...
Slick, if you want. I think the best thing is the fact how non-United States crowds have really taken over wrestling right now. I mean, AEW show is growing by leaps and bounds. I think the greatest thing that happened this week is Mike Coppinger got completely roasted by Tony Khan. Mike Coppinger is one of the worst human beings on the face of the earth, and had he checked any fact check for about 2 seconds, he would have found out that his comment about 40,000 people was a blatant lie, because the seating map has always been the entire arena. And I'm glad he got roasted by wrestling fans, because boxing fans hate him and now wrestling fans hate him too. And then, the Puerto Rican crowd last night was absolutely incredible. Their energy was amazing. I think even the Saudi crowd, their energy's been great the past couple shows, and I think the Money in the Bank show at the O2 Arena in England's going to be great. I just think all these shows with all these non-United States audiences, they're all going to be awesome. Even the one in Toronto, right? Isn't all in Toronto?
Forbidden Door, yeah.
Forbidden Door, yeah. Well, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, same thing. Yeah, so it's going to be amazing. And there it is right there. What a great Tony Khan roasted him, and I'm one of the great. I became a Tony Khan fan after that day.
And that's a pretty big movement, because you are not the biggest Tony Khan fan on social and stuff like that. So that's obviously a big win for the AEW side. All right, Partham, what do you got?
Speaking of reprehensible human beings getting roasted, how about Louis Dangoor finally getting called out for his bullshit? And speaking of ticket sales, I had a bit of breaking news here. Maybe not breaking news, but possibly expected. per WrestleTix Patreon, All In at Wembley has crossed the mark of 70,000 tickets distributed.
Holy shit!
Wow, 70K.
And I believe they're averaging about 10,000 per day since the pre-sale began.
So at the end of the day, wrestling and live wrestling for sure is thriving. There's no doubt about that. Ticket sales everywhere you see it are going nuts, and that's an awesome thing. Obviously, I mean, that might be my favorite thing. I mean, but boys, we're kind of sleeping on it. We'll get into it in a minute, but the big gold belt is back. It might have a W in the middle of it, but come on, McAdoo, you look like you got emotional when I mentioned that. Talk to me.
Yeah, because I was just about to say is that I'm excited to see the new belt back. Granted, it's not in the what it was in the past, which I'm kind of disappointed in. It should have been that belt, but we'll take it nonetheless. We have a new gold belt.
Yeah, I'm just worried to see how I know we were discussing it a lot offline, but I'm just worried to see how they can show that this title is important while Roman's on the other side just beating up everyone, and now they just made a new title to try to give someone else a title. So how are they gonna show that this title is actually important and it's not just a second comer to Roman's 2 titles? That's what I'm most excited to see in these next few weeks leading up to Night of Champions.
I probably got to echo Ernie on all the international wrestling thriving right now at the moment. Wrestling as a whole, obviously thriving. But I'm excited for tonight, and I love what Bad Bunny has been doing in WWE. I think outside of being a performer on the mic in the music industry, I think he was born for this. He's really good, and he looks like he belongs, and I'm excited to see his match. We all know he tore the roof off at Wrestlemania with Damian Priest when they tagged together, so it's going to be cool to see them in a street fight tonight.
Seriously, it will be very cool to see. And speaking of being very cool to see, we mentioned it. We got AEW coming up with a lot of stuff on the horizon. There's talks of CM Punk returning. We obviously have a third show coming into the mix with Rampage expected to become the pseudo dark for the AEW brand. And obviously the Wembley show, part them 70K over now officially, you said?
Yep.
That's insane. Obviously way beyond what any hater or whatever would have predicted going in. So let me go around the panel here. Anyone can chime in. Which of these 3 is the most important for 2023 to be a success for AEW?
I think it's got to be Wembley. I think already, without even a match announced, they're breaking not only non-WWE records, but WWE's own records as far as actual attendance and not Vince's inflated sense of, the vendors and the security people count too. So we'll say it's 93,000 or whatever. They may go on to break those records before a match is even announced, and that just blows my mind. It just shows how much the UK people are not only hungry for professional wrestling in general because they're about to get a Money in the Bank show, they're hungry for AEW. And from what I understand, some UK people were a little annoyed when NXT UK sort of took all of their independent stars over there, and they kind of sort of favored AEW a little bit more. And the ratings over there reflect that, at least in their country. But of course, they're still professional wrestling fans, so they'll show up to the WWE shows in droves and chant and sing their voices off for whatever they see. But the hunger for an AEW show, and especially one of this magnitude, or what seems to be of this magnitude, and when they call it All In, it's going to be the first All In since the original one, and that just shows you just how much bigger AEW is thinking about making this rather than just your average All Out, which is still going to happen somehow a week later. And it's going to be interesting to see how that happens. Do they treat it like a WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2 just separated by a week? Or are there going to be separate storylines going into each pay-per-view? How many matches do they make for each pay-per-view, etc.? But the All In at Wembley is going to be the biggest thing. As far as Punk coming back, yes, it'll generate headlines. It'll draw some eyes, I believe. As far as what the match that we ultimately want to see, is that going to happen? Will there be enough time between now and Wembley for cooler heads to prevail? Who knows? But they're ending Dark and Dark Elevation, and they're going now with a on-screen, on-TV product that's going to split the roster, a soft split from what the reports are saying now. So it's not going to be a hard, you see only these wrestlers on this show and these wrestlers on that show, which I think is a better way to do it, unless you want to create a second world title, which is just going to throw more chaos into things. And WWE has enough problems with that going on right now, as we'll talk about. But I think the Wembley is the important one. Let me just say, because I know we have different opinions.
Ernie can't wait to get after you on this one.
Let me just say first, as we know, we have differing opinions on CM Punk. He was on a flight with WWE wrestlers, and yes, he hasn't come to a Chicago show in years, but I'm pretty sure, I would think upon reflection about what's gone on and the idea of him wanting to break bread with his enemies, and he's thinking to himself, you know what, I should be asking as much as myself as I'm asking of other people, or maybe supposed to ask of other people because he's not in contact with them because he's been told not to have contact with them. But he's on a plane with WWE wrestlers. He says hi. He says, maybe I'll drop by and I'll make peace with a couple of people that I've had problems with. As far as Impact goes, I don't know if you guys noticed this. He was invited directly by Mercedes on an Instagram post that he commented on, and Mercedes replied to him. So it wasn't like he decided to show up at the Impact show that just happened to be in Chicago because he's going on a world tour of forgiveness and goodwill and whatnot. He also showed up at the New Japan show that Mercedes was at because he's genuinely interested in Mercedes and Trinity doing well, because he's vocally supported them walking out on Vince McMahon and WWE, which is something he would know about and something he wholeheartedly supports when there's bullshit going on there. And some people say, you can take this job and shove it. So yes, when Brawl Out happened, I was disappointed and I was let down, as he said a year earlier when he alluded to the fact that he walked out in the first place. But time heals wounds. Wrestlers have been mentioning how much they've been working, they've worked in the past with people that they didn't like before. Brett and Shawn and Eddie Kingston and Sammy Guevara basically came to blows, and they were able to shake hands over it. So, how much time is enough? And this perception of him being selfish, he's not Hulk Hogan. He's not freaking, all these bad people that we compare him to with being a cancer or whatnot. So I really don't get I get the bitterness over, him saying things he shouldn't have said in the press conference and then getting into a fight that he shouldn't have gotten into. But how much time is enough? And Slick, I think you're a little bit opposed to what I'm saying, so go ahead, speak your mind.
No, I'm just
give it to him, Slick.
Do you have any more?
Martha really got a lot off his chest there, though. I feel it.
No, I feel it. I wasn't disagreeing with
voice of reason here. I know you are a CM Punk guy. Which is the most important success? Do you see a CM Punk return ultimately going well with AEW?
Honestly,
sorry.
I'm sorry. You were asking me, right? My bad.
Yeah. Okay. You're good.
So, CM Punk, like I've said, this is CM Punk reacted very poorly to a bunch of idiots talking behind his back, and when he found out about it, I don't think anybody is, nobody's in the right in this situation. There's no. Things have happened to people in pro wrestling where they have shook hands and moved on with their lives. Edge literally slept with Matt Hardy's girlfriend, and they had a match months later and they shook hands. So it's like the fact that this is still going on to me is just like ridiculous. He's kind of, he said he works with children, and the fact that they can't put a match together kind of proves that he works with children. And in terms of this, Wembley's going to be a smashing success. Anybody who opposes that is a complete moron. I don't know how else to say it. I think the biggest thing, though, is how they've gained this momentum off Collision. Collision is being placed at a not-so-easy time to watch wrestling. It's going to be on Saturday nights. There's going to be a lot of other stuff to oppose watching it. So they need, in my opinion, Wembley's going to be a great show. I don't think anybody can dispute that. They don't even have a match announced yet, and it's going to be a great show. It's going to be a historic show. And I love that, by the way. I think the biggest thing, though, is what they do with that momentum after Wembley. They need to, if Collision becomes a smashing success based off of Wembley, they have a legitimate chance at being a legit competitor in WWE. So I think this Collision show, carrying on that momentum after Wembley Stadium, is going to be the big thing. Wembley's going to be amazing. And everyone's talked about Punk ad nauseum. He's a ratings draw, but he is also a guy who's one bad mood away from walking out in the company. Let's be honest. So I think the success of whether you like him or not, the Collision show, I think that's going to be the big thing to capture the momentum.
All right. So I'm going to continue what Ernie just said. Okay. the reason why they're having this brand split is because of him. Because he can't work with some of the other guys on there. Whether you say it's a soft split or a hard split like it was reported, we don't know which one's which. It could be the downfall because what have I been saying since the beginning? AEW, CW. If it's a soft split, you're probably not going to get the other guys on the secondary show like Thunder. So, I mean, the writing is on the wall for all this script. The history always repeats itself, and I will always say that. God, it took 1 minute, less than a minute to say that. So,
What the fuck?
Slick, you got any thoughts on this?
I think the most important out of the three is CM Punk because he's the key to Collision's success ultimately. And I echo Ernie's point that Wembley's already a success. We already know that's going to be a great show. They've sold 70,000 tickets in 2 days? I mean, that's insane. That's going to be a success no matter what. Obviously, Tony Khan's going to put on a banger of a show for that. But CM Punk ultimately decides the fate of how AEW does the rest of the year outside of these huge shows, be it Forbidden Door, All Out, All In, and he decides the popularity and success of Collision. So I think he's the key out of those three.
Seriously, I do love Ernie's point, though. I think CM Punk and Wembley are kind of sure things for 2023, which makes Collision the biggest wild card. And if you could pick one that would be successful, probably that one of the three. But we are getting into it. WWE talk, the remainder of the show. First, I threw a question mark in here, but is anyone not bothered by VKM being kind of back in the saddle and creative? Okay, so enough said. So there really doesn't need to be a question right there. So really, I guess the question is, do we see a path out of this? Because it just felt like, yeah, not everything was perfect with the WWE storylines when, like Austin Theory cashing in the Money in the Bank for, Seth Rollins' title versus the top title doesn't really make sense to me. But it seemed like all the tangential storylines were a little bit better lined up and everything. So do we see a path out of this? I mean, what is the path for, the fan base, I guess, and WWE from here, I guess would be the question.
The path out of Vince in the saddle is Vince dies.
You took my... To quote CM Punk, I'd like to think that this company will be better after Vince McMahon's dead.
Yeah.
New lawsuits, obviously, from like ridiculous racist storyline claims, things like that. Is there anything does anyone have anything to add? I mean, I think we're all on the same page on this, so I just don't think it's not that much of a discussion topic. Any thoughts or anything outside that?
This is just what we're hearing. It's just the tip of the iceberg. I can't even imagine what kind of crazy stuff that they're coming up and proposing. It's the culture. It's not just Vince McMahon's crazy ideas. It's the culture that he's perpetuating by allowing all these writers with batshit ideas to just have free reign and have control in the writing room.
I think we're on like a probation period with Vince being back because it was Ari Emanuel who said that he's back, but we have heard reports where the writers are pretty much disputing Vince already. We're seeing more lawsuits. Eventually, Endeavor is going to be like, there was better product when he was gone, and hopefully it comes sooner than later, but it could possibly come years from now, and it's just a wait and see. But I'm holding hope that WWE isn't fully lost yet.
Will we, though? Will Endeavor end up saying that?
Maybe. I don't know. I just have a lesson for the kids out there. If you have a creative idea that you have a wrestler of any sort of Arab descent, and your creative idea is that at 6 years old, he caused 9/11, maybe keep that to yourself. Just a random thought I have in my head. Like, if you have that idea, maybe not say that out loud because that is the dumbest. It was so stupidly racist. There's nothing you can do but laugh. Like, I can't believe somebody actually had that thought in their head.
They had to have thought that, well, maybe no one's going to be, care about this enough to go on Wikipedia and look up his birth date or whatever. I mean, that would just be that was beyond comprehension. So. Listen, even if half these ideas don't get to TV, the fact that you're thinking of them should be enough grounds for dismissal from this company or any
company.
Any company.
It would 1,000%, except unless you're the guy in charge.
An Australian hunting specifically black wrestlers and putting them in cages.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Can you guys not hear
bothersome?
I can hear Vince saying, "You started 9/11." Like,
You go out there. Oh yeah, that was. I got a little too real for me because now I can like really like hear some of the great
Someone clip
conversations.
that, please.
Speaking of real, I know we're all really happy that the World Heavyweight Championship is back. I do stand on my claim. The W in the middle isn't great, but it's still a 9, whereas the big gold belt in the back in the day was a 10. Is where I'm thinking on the thought process. So real quick, again, let's try and keep this under like 30, 45 seconds each. I know that might be tough, but let's get our predictions here for who's going to ultimately have this belt and your thoughts on the rollout and reaction to it. Start with Slick.
Yeah, I think you summed up basically. Like, it's cool. The W in the middle is not the best. I like it. I like the addition. I don't like how we've started thus far in determining who's going to get it. People coming from the other brand after the draft, kind of seemingly taking away the purpose of that within a couple days. But, it should be cool, and it'll definitely be a highlight to put on a wrestler that deserves it, be it Seth Rollins. So I like it. I think it adds a great factor to the company. So
yeah, I agree with Slick. The design, it's all right. It could have been better, but I mean, hey, what are you going to do? That's what they love. They love putting that logo in the middle of their titles now. So what are you going to really do about that? The build-up, I agree with Slick. I was saying it earlier. I really don't know how they can show that this title is as important as Roman's, because Roman just beats up everyone. And now with SmackDown opponents on it, it's going to make it even worse, because whoever wins it on the SmackDown side is going to lose to Roman the next pay-per-view after losing to at Night of Champions. And
didn't someone
there's
mention
only one person.
Maybe having Roman go title hungry and throwing himself in this tournament and losing in the championship?
I think it was Rob.
Yeah,
Rob, that would be perfect. That would literally be perfect to establish the legitimacy of this title.
Mm-hmm. That would be the only way of having SmackDown opponents on it. And Heyman hinted at it last week on Raw, saying that he wants his shot at it. So, and it's going to be Seth. Seth is going to be the winner of this, because it's not going to be Cody, because Cody doesn't want this one. He wants Roman's. So we're going to have to wait out that story. That's a whole different topic. But I think at the end, it's going to be Seth. And I'm hoping it's Seth versus Roman, because that's the only way to show that Seth is as equal as Roman at the big stage with the title.
All right, McAdoo, what do you got? The new BGB.
Oh, that's music to my ears hearing you guys say this is Seth Rollins' time. But yeah, good looking belt. I don't like how it's rolled out, and they're gonna establish this champion. It's so stupid to allow SmackDown guys to fight for it. But I think it's going to be Rollins' belt to lose.
Yes, Seth Rollins should win this title. He's the most over guy besides Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, I would say. And he has the legitimacy of being the only Roman opponent that was not definitively defeated by Roman. He basically won via DQ, and Roman just didn't lose the title. As far as Roman being involved in this, no. If he loses in any way, that devalues his long record-breaking title reign with the Universal title and now the Unified title. And the whole point of this, you want him to break that record, or whatever record they want him to break, and they want him to be the greatest of all time. So how is he going to be the greatest of all time if he loses in a
Devil's
secondary
advocate, though?
in a
Kenny Omega lost
title
to Christian Cage, and then he went on to have his reign for like another 2 years, which was amazing, and he was at the top of the game.
But he was like 3/4 of a year into it, and it was chicanery and shenanigans. And if you want someone to go over the heel, you don't want them to also use chicanery and shenanigans or whatever.
Gotcha.
No, and then you're just devaluing. They've already devalued the whole brand split by having SmackDown talent in this in the first place. And as I laid out in our chat, and I'll try to keep it short here, if a SmackDown talent wins, they're going to go to Raw. And who's going to be left? Someone that lost in the SmackDown tournament, part of the tournament. Are they going to be a credible threat to Roman Reigns? If the SmackDown star in the Ultimate match at Night of Champions loses, well, then they're the third guy still. And how are they going to challenge Roman Reigns when they couldn't even win the secondary consolation belt? You had to keep the SmackDown people separate from this tournament. It's a Raw belt. It should be a Raw tournament. Have the SmackDown stars focused on being the ones to challenge for Roman Reigns' title when he finally gets around to defending it.
So regarding the belt, I mean, everybody likes the big gold belt. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Endeavor didn't just buy a company for $9 billion and not have the logo of the company they bought not to be showcased on pretty much every single thing they have. I mean, it is what it is, even though we all want the big gold belt coming back. That just wasn't happening. So giving those parameters, I thought they did as good as they could with the belt. I think Seth Rollins is the logical choice, obviously, for many reasons, to win this championship. He was also the first NXT champion, so they can kind of do that angle, like first NXT champ, first world heavyweight champ. I'm just going to predict that even if he doesn't win, I think Nakamura is going to have a big hand in this tournament, the way they're pushing him right now. I would not be surprised if he ends up being the first world heavyweight champion the way that they're pushing him right now. And he's been drafted to Raw also. So I'm not saying he's going to win. I say like maybe like a 5 to 10% chance, but I think Seth Rollins is going to be the leading man in this. But I would not be surprised the way that they're pushing him since he came back, and Triple H's love for him if he was not the first champion.
I love Nakamura. And a Nakamura who's instructed to unleash by Triple H is the exact Nakamura that WWE main roster needs right now.
You know how we would tell if Vince was calling shots? If
Omos was in the main event, or was in the had a bye.
If Brock wins this title,
Brock is gonna get inserted in like in the quarterfinals somehow.
See, but he's not a Raw or SmackDown opponent. So what side does he compete on if he's in this tournament?
Whichever side he wants.
Seriously, as he always does. Folks, let's get into it. It's 2023 Backlash, an event that our group chat 3.5 months ago didn't even think was going to take place, as it wasn't even listed on the WWE site, but we set it up. Bad Bunny, Puerto Rico, WWE taking advantage of that relationship, making a great event happen. With that said, let's get into a game before we get into our predictions. It is main event mania, folks. What are the last 5 main events of Backlash?
oh wow!
The greatest wrestling match was the Thunderdome one.
It was, but who was in it in 2020?
It was Edge and Seth.
Edge and Orton, wasn't it?
Edge and Orton, correct, is 2020.
Wow.
2017 was for the WWE Championship. 2021 was for the Universal title.
All right, Backlash 2017. I think the champion would be Orton.
Correct.
Who'd he face?
Wow. Roman?
Nope.
Jinder Mahal?
Jinder
Mahal.
Right.
The upset win over Randy Orton 5 Backlashes ago. So we have 2 out of 5. We have 2017 and 2020.
Well, 2021 we just talked about yesterday. It was Roman against Cesaro, Claudio.
2021 was Roman against Cesaro.
Why can I not remember last year? What? Oh, last year was the 6-man tag, wasn't it?
Last year was the 6-man tag. But who was in it?
Roman and the Usos versus McIntyre, Orton, and Riddle.
Correct.
Wow.
RK Bro
Wow.
and McIntyre versus the Bloodline, which leaves 1 left in 2018. Here's your hint, because this one becomes a little tougher. This was during the true Roman Reign of Terror era, when he was in the main event, when he wasn't even having like a title on him.
Oh wow.
Oh God, I can think of it and I can't think of it. I'm gonna lose my mind when you tell us the answer.
Oh, this was. I mean, this one upset us all. I'm pretty sure the way this feud went.
Is his opponent still with the company?
No.
Was it Drew?
Bryan.
Nope.
Well,
Who'd you say, McAdoo?
Daniel Bryan?
Nope.
That
I
one
mean,
also pissed me
Ambrose,
off.
not Drew. I mean, Dean.
Oh,
Nope,
Samoa
not it.
Joe.
Samoa Joe.
Jeez.
Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe. Headlined over Nakamura, AJ Styles for the WWE title when they were in the middle of that low blow off, which was just ridiculous. And I wonder who came up with that storyline, by the way.
Noah, speak English. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, that was our Backlash Main Event Mania. Well done, boys. We got to it. Let's get into the matches, and let's start with, again, a familiar triple trios match. I guess they wouldn't call it in the WWE, but we got Riddle and KO Zania against the Bloodline. So let's go slick around to Ernie. Who you got?
I'm gonna go with the Bloodline. Seems like they're somewhat getting the momentum back, and you don't if Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn take a loss here, they're not losing the titles. So I'm gonna go with the Bloodline, even though Riddle just came back. Obviously, that'd be good to get his momentum as well. But What do you go with the Bloodline? It's hard to pick against them.
I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going Riddle, KO, and Sammy because they're starting to push that breakup again between the Usos and Roman and Solo. And especially after that one last night where Solo was like, you better do your job or else. They're pushing it, and I think it's going to start coming. So I'm going KO, Sammy, and Riddle.
I mean, I don't know. Part of me wants to say Bloodline because for obvious reasons, but I don't.
What are those reasons?
Because they never lose.
Yeah, come on, you know me. We the ones. Come on, like screw it. We the ones. They're winning.
Yeah,
right,
there's
McAfee's got the Bloodline part of them. Was this an easy one or is this a controversial one?
This is an easy one. It's not that the Bloodline doesn't lose, it's that Roman doesn't lose. And Roman's nowhere near to be found in this match. So the Bloodline can lose all the heck they want. And with all the tension that's going on that we saw that Rob alluded to, and the Bloodline's just going to go downhill, or at least everybody else other than Roman is going to go down. Well, Solo might very well, as we previously discussed, I think the rumored match in the final for the World Heavyweight Championship is going to be Seth versus Solo. That would be good to see. So Solo's on the ascent, but it's the Usos who are going downhill. They're losing the championships. They're losing matches. They're losing Roman's trust and his confidence. And he's going to be back next week. And what do you think he's going to be back to do? He's going to be back to straighten people out because they've been losing this whole time that he's been gone on vacation. So, and KO and Sammy are the champs. They're not going to lose the titles, but you can't make them look weak as the champions, as the unified champions. And it's just like at WrestleMania, you had the women's tag champs. Well, the new women's tag champs just lost in a non-title match, so I guess that moots my point. But I predicted Lita, Trish, and Becky to go over because Lita and Becky were the tag champions, and you don't make the tag champions look weak in a 6-person tag match. So Roman's not here. You don't have to have the Bloodline go over to keep Roman's streak of whatever many wins alive. KO and Sammy and the champs, you can't devalue them, and the Bloodline's going downhill, and they're going to continue to go downhill. So you got to continue that story. It's going to be KO, Sammy, and Riddle. Easy.
Ernie, what do you got?
Pretty much,
easy.
I mean, pretty much took everything that I said.
Sorry.
The most interesting storyline in pro wrestling, and it's an all-time storyline, is the Bloodline. And how to make it more interesting would be if the Usos lose. They do something stupid and lose, and then Roman comes back, and we're all wondering what he's going to do. So I think that's going to be the most intriguing thing out of this match. That'd be way more intriguing than if they won. So I'm predicting Riddle, Owens, and Zayn also.
Interesting. So we're a little bit split. We got the two Bloodlines. We got Micah is on KO Zania to win. I am going to go Bloodline here. But the reason they think is going to be not the reason you might think. I believe that KO and Zayn are going to take Jay and Jimmy away from the ring somehow and come some guys and get taken out. They'll all go through tables or something. Then you get your Solo Sikoa push, big spotlight in this match, gets the pin or whatever, and they go on to push him in the future. It's Chekhov, Solo Sikoa. You know that they're going to be pushing him big time in the near future. So they're doing so with letting him get the win here, which is the only way, by the way, that the Bloodline is going to win this match, is Solo Sikoa getting a pin on Matt Riddle. It's the only way. It's the only combination that's going to have, or submitting or whatever. But that's key because you guys are right. There's really no way the tag team should look weak, but that's the way I have the Bloodline winning. Let's move on. Speaking of no way that someone should win this match, does anybody have Omos?
No.
Slick, seriously?
No.
Okay, so we are all on Rollins. It's pretty clear. Omos should continue his big loss streak. I will say, Micah submitted Rollins, and then this morning he switched to Omos.
No,
so I don't know what's going on. Yes, he did.
No.
I don't know if Alex.
No.
I don't know if
He's
Alex
hanging out
got
with
the
his
phone
brother
or
too
what
much.
happened. But
Too much for the mile for him.
That was very.
Can I just say that
Real
if
quick.
Omos wins this match, obviously Vince wants to watch the world burn, and even as a non-drinker, I just might take a trip to Outlet Liquor and drown my sorrows.
Apart
It is
from
the
the
place to
non-drinker
buy a
too,
case.
I will join you.
Okay, well, let's get. What do you got? What do you got, McAdoo?
No, it's too. Never mind. No, that's too dark. Not
Okay,
too dark.
okay. Well, AEW Dark is done, so we can't have that. I know you're a big AEW guy. All right, let's get into it. SmackDown again. No way Rollins should lose that match on planet Earth. WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. This one's pretty obvious too, but obviously they're playing off the Mysterio angle. I guess to start us off, does anyone have Zelina Vega winning the title?
No.
Okay.
No.
So with that said, how crazy, I guess, then the prediction for this match is how crazy are the hijinks going to get with the Mysterios on a scale of 1 to 10 in this match?
About an 8 or a 9. I just think they only made this match because it's Zelina. They're in Puerto Rico. They needed that Spanish heritage blood in there. And, they have the feud already with LWO and the Judgment Day, so why not have it? I think she'll get some good moments, but obviously in the end, it's going to be Rhea.
Well, keep in mind that there was no hijinks with Rhea Ripley's match with Flair at WrestleMania. They basically left her alone to win the title by herself. I think they're going to leave the women alone and leave the hijinks for another match that's going to have very fewer rules in it.
Okay.
Gee, what are you referring to, Bertha?
We'll get to
all right,
that.
so we all have Rhea Ripley retaining. Does anyone have her losing this match by DQ or anything? She's winning straight up, right?
No, she's going to win straight up.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Bad things to this girl. This is going to be.
But
Speaking of bad things, I think this match has the most fluctuating potential of any match on the card. Triple threat match for the WWE US Championship. Austin Theory, Bobby Lashley, Bronson Reed. Ernie, why don't you start us off? We'll go around the horn here.
I think my favorite match at this WrestleMania was the big Hoss fight with Sheamus and Gunther and McIntyre. This has a little bit of that potential between Lashley and Bronson. Obviously not Austin. I just see a spot at the end where Lashley or Reed incapacitates one or the other, and the old heel triple threat finish, which happens almost every time, where the guy who's going to win the match gets pushed off by the heel, and then the heel pins the guy who's already incapacitated. And that's going to that's also going to further establish Theory as a piece of shit heel. So it should be that should be the ending. So I'm going to say Theory retains.
All right, so remind me again. Bronson Reed is going to Raw, correct?
Believe so.
Yes.
Where Gunther is going as well with the Intercontinental Championship, and Austin Theory is going to SmackDown. You're not going to put the Intercontinental Champion and the U.S. Champion on the same show, so Bronson Reed can't win it. And we've already seen Bobby Lashley with the U.S. title, and he's just been feuding with Austin for way too long as it is. Austin Theory goes over. He retains.
But could this be a way to get Austin Theory into the World Heavyweight title picture?
Oh my God! Hopefully not.
Is this the way? I don't think it is, but it could it be? I'm still saying A-Town.
Austin 2 belts.
Yeah, I'm also going A-Town down. I don't really think there's any explanation, but I do think Bronson Reed's going to get a big push in this match for the future.
Okay. I'm going, like Ernie said, the classic way to keep your heel with the belt is a triple threat match. He said it best. Don't even have to go over it. Austin Theory.
Well said. I have Theory as well. And again, I think that if you are ever going to get Bronson Reed over, I mean, a championship match on a pay-per-view is a spot to do it for sure. So let's hopefully these two workers can put it over. I mean, Lashley's obviously had his moments the last couple of years, and I'm sure he will have no problem doing the job. Speaking of doing the job, Bianca Belair has been doing the job for almost 2 years now, it feels like, with the WWE Raw Women's Championship. So off the cuff, does anyone have Io Sky winning the title tonight in San Juan, Puerto Rico?
Bianca's going to SmackDown.
Well, guess what? Micah does, baby. Io Sky.
What is wrong with this guy?
What are they putting?
He purposely didn't show up today.
Are you sure this wasn't his brother?
I had to double check his notes and stuff. But yeah, Io Sky, he has her winning.
Did you text the wrong Micah?
I seriously, I was like, Alex definitely got the phone here.
What are they putting in
you
that
have to
deepest
imagine
pizza,
Bianca retains. I think that you want to speak about hijinks. I think they could be running crazy in this match with Bailey and Dakota Kai doing something else. Maybe we see someone from the back, to kind of even the odds or something. Who knows?
Bianca's going to SmackDown, and so is Io, if I'm not mistaken. So there's really no purpose of switching the title as far as getting the Raw title back to a Raw wrestler. And even if they did that, even if Bianca was facing a Raw wrestler that she could drop the Raw title to, and the idea of Bianca having this long reign wasn't that big of a deal, and they could just drop it like that. Well, then you'd have both titles on the same show. And then how would you do the stupid title exchange then? As stupid as that is, at least it's a thing to resolve the issue of the branded champions going to different shows. So it's just, there's no reason for Bianca to drop it to Io, especially after this long reign. Io's not been built up like that, not nearly the same as Cody Rhodes, which we thought was going to win the title at WrestleMania.
Io Sky has to finish the story, baby.
What story? Speaking of finishing the story, I think we have a nice little transition there.
Seriously. Okay, so we're all on Bianca except for Mike, who's on Io.
I still can't believe he picked Omos.
Io and Omos, I mean, if you went to a sports book, you'd have to be thinking you'd be getting like 50-1 with that parlay alone.
What time did he send those in? Did he send those in like during the middle of happy hour on
he did send it in late last night or whatever, and then the Omos adjustment was at 7:30 this morning. So maybe he needed some hair on the dog that fed him.
He woke up and was like, yeah.
He had Rollins regret. But speaking of regret, I think this whole chat had regret and angst and anger when we saw the end of that main event. And truthfully, I got to be honest, the end of the Raw after WrestleMania, when it ended with Brock Lesnar taking out Cody Rhodes, I thought that fell a little flat. But obviously, it all culminates to this. Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar at Backlash. Let's go, Ernie, around the horn back to me. Who do you got, Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar?
I don't feel all that. This is like the least comfortable prediction I'm making. I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure every other match is really, really easy. I am going to pick Cody. I think that I honestly think that they were going to have Brock face Cody last year before he got hurt, and they just went back to it. It wasn't a good idea. It was stupid. It was not necessary, but that was their logic, and I'm pretty sure that was the logic of, like I've said before, I haven't brought this out in a long time, but Vince McMahon logic. I think that's one of his dumb ideas, and not that Brock Lesnar's not a great wrestler, obviously, but I just think Cody's going to win, and they're going to finish the story the way they were going to before he got injured. That's kind of my prediction, even though it was completely unnecessary.
Yeah. Still without an explanation as to why Lesnar attacked Cody, other than, maybe Cody would have won the title, and then Brock Lesnar would be free to go after the title now that the stipulation from Roman no longer matters. But I guess this feud was waiting in the wings. And by the way, as far as the whole World Heavyweight title goes, I'm thinking that Triple H wanted Cody to go over and then split the titles after that, because Cody would rather care about the WWE title. Vince put the kibosh on that, and he just said, you know what, bring back your little big gold belt, and I'll let you have that to play with. And then now we're getting this stupid title split as it is. But now they're running with Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes for no reason whatsoever. If you want to kill Cody's momentum, sure, have Brock Lesnar beat him up. But I've been hearing people say, well, Cody, the whole Cody needs to struggle. This is not something I agree with. It's just something I keep hearing from certain circles.
If John Cena did it, he can do it. You can just hear that coming from Gorilla.
Beat Brock Lesnar some people said that shouldn't have happened. You should have had Brock carry his momentum when he returned in 2012 all the way to all the way through the next year or whatever. But Cody needs his momentum back. He needs to look like a legitimate and possible contender for Roman Reigns down the road. I know that they have Money in the Bank winners like lose all the way until they actually cash in, but Cody's not that guy. Cody needs to look strong. Cody's the number one merch seller, even surpassing Roman Reigns. So you just can't make people disheartened about their hero, their conquering hero, who's going to ultimately beat Roman Reigns. He should ultimately beat Roman Reigns whenever that might happen. One idea I overheard is the idea, not unlike what happened to John Cena, kind of legitimately with his match with Brock Lesnar. Maybe Cody wins, but he's so beat up that he's not medically cleared to compete in the World Heavyweight Championship tournament, so that excuses him from participating and having to go after this secondary title that he doesn't really care about. He cares about Roman more. And by the way, McAdoo, get that one out of the sky, because you picked Cody to beat Roman just like the rest of us.
If you remember back, what did I say? The last 3 Manias I picked against Roman as a jinx. Just like when I bet against the Bills.
It wasn't a jinx. You thought Cody was winning.
Partham.
You were so conflicted over it. And
you thought Cody was winning.
You were ready to cry.
I'm not lying.
I can see it right now,
because it always works. It always works at WWE. It works at NFL. It always screws me over.
It's funny how you didn't mention that jinx.
I literally said the last 3 Manias I've gone against Roman.
McAdoo's favorite
That's not why.
Pokemon, Jinx.
That's not why you picked him.
I can see Vince McMahon right now, boys, where he's like, McAdoo picked against Roman, so make him win. That's such good shit.
McAdoo picked against Roman. Eat this, McAdoo. All right, McAdoo. Well, who you got tonight? Cody or Lesnar?
Something Cody Rhodes.
Okay, Cody. What do you got, Rob?
Going Cody. I think one way they're maybe doing it is have him beat all of Roman's opponents that he beat. Show that Cody can possibly get back to that level, and hopefully it's SummerSlam. But I think it's at WrestleMania, it's SummerSlam. But I'm going Cody tonight.
Oh, is Roman in Puerto Rico? Do we know that?
That is
Probably
the
not.
question for sure, because I could totally see this culminating for like a match of the year, and all of a sudden, Superman punch!
Spear. Fuck it. I'm gonna go with Brock.
Oh, Lesnar?
Yep.
No,
A different Brock. Brock Purdy. Lesnar also was selected by Micah. So interesting. Guys, I think you all said it best. Cody needs this win. If he doesn't get this win, regardless if he gets his ass kicked with 38 San Juan suplexes, he needs this win very bad to just get on the right track here. Whether he's going to go after Roman, whether he's going to go after the World Heavyweight Championship, he just needs to get it done.
This is the match that I alluded to that I was the most uncertain about. And I figured we might be a little divided on it because I could see them putting Lesnar over. But
I have clarification from Micah for all of us that are confused about the Omos pick. He says Cody and Rollins are both losing tonight to set up for their triple threat wins tomorrow.
And whose school of thinking does that come from? Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Yep.
All right, folks. Well, hey, thank you for coming along with our school of thinking here on Wrestling with Emotion. We broke down Backlash AEW. Shout out to our panel, Ernie Green.
Wait, we got one more match.
We got one more. The big one.
Do?
Yeah, Bad Bunny.
The main.
Oh my God!
Event.
I'm sorry. I blew past it. I did blow past it. Needless to say, I think Bad Bunny's winning this match.
Is this actually the main event?
I mean, I can see it being the main event for sure.
I mean, that's sick.
By the way, this is a Maniac specialty right here. Just forgetting the one last thing.
Well, hey, now we know we're running a real show for sure. Does anybody not have Bad Bunny?
Celebrities always win.
Okay, the high jump is going to be on a 14 out of 10 for this match?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the pop that he got last night was insane. It was awesome. And by the way, do you guys see how much bigger that Bad Bunny was over the LWO? That was hilarious. He looked like Big John Studd compared to the other guys in the LWO. I laughed.
I'll have to look for that tonight. I didn't notice that as much. But Bad Bunny being a huge guy is an interesting dynamic.
Well, he's only 5'11", but compared to them, he is.
The fact that this is a street fight, whatever Bad Bunny's limitations might be, as great as we've seen him be, it's going to make up for that. Bad Bunny can use whatever weapons he wants. It's going to be gang warfare throughout the whole thing, or at least through the middle of it. And Bad Bunny's basically going to hit Damian Priest with some weapon or some big move, and he's going to go over.
The Sharks versus the Jets.
Couldn't have said it better, Magnew. And hopefully you think we couldn't have said it better based on our predictions. We do have a little bit of split on the Bloodline versus RKO Sammy match and obviously Rhodes and Lesnar. But we'll see tonight who's right, who's wrong on WWE Backlash. And obviously a huge month ahead, like we talked about. They'll be talking about Wembley, AEW. We have an AEW pay-per-view in the later of the month, and we'll see what is going on. But thanks for sticking along with us on the show. Again, with Ernie Green, Partham, McAdoo, Rob Ryan, Slick Al, and Maniac here. Micah chiming in with his picks on the show where it's not about wrestling with your budget. It's not about wrestling with your conscience. It's about wrestling with emotion.
Scissor me, Slick. Oh, come on.